We're just 2 days into the federal election campaign, and new polling numbers from Ipsos show where Canadians are thinking about parking their vote. Out of the starting blocks, the Liberals continue to enjoy a 5 percentage point lead over the Conservatives, 36% to 31%. The Liberals' number is unchanged, while Tories ticked up 1 point since last month. The NDP are also unchanged, sitting at 20% support nationally, and the Greens coming in at 5%. Canadians are split on how the government is doing. 41% believe the Trudeau Liberals deserve re-election, but 57% are willing to entertain a change at the top and are ready for another party to take over. It gets even closer when Canadians are asked if the country is headed in the right direction. 48% say yes, while 50% say it's headed in the wrong direction.
Even though 56% of Canadians say that they don't want to have an election during this pandemic, it doesn't seem right out of the starting blocks that they're punishing the Prime Minister. The numbers that we have in our most recent polling are almost identical to what they were over the last month. So nothing's really changed. So this idea that somehow that the public would recoil and punish the government and the Prime Minister at the polls doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. Well, it doesn't seem that the government's making a ton of progress in Ontario, although they do have a pretty big lead. The places where they're doing a bit better than they were in the last election campaign, and there are actually seats to be had, are first of all Quebec, where they have a pretty good lead over the Bloc Québécois at the moment, and also they're leading in British Columbia, where in the last election they were actually defeated. In both of those provinces, there's a fair number of seats, I would say, based on these numbers that are up for grabs. So I would expect that what you're going to see is a fair amount of activity from our Prime Minister, the leader of the Liberal Party, Justin Trudeau, in the province of Quebec, and you're also going to be seeing it in the province of British Columbia. Well, should he be happy? I think what this shows is that the changing of the leader of the Conservative Party has not made a big difference to their electoral fortunes. That being said, there's potential for him to not only hold on to the Western base that the Conservative Party has, but they're trailing the Liberal Party by 9 points in Ontario, which means when you take a look at it in terms of the downtowns of the province and then the suburbs of the province, particularly around the Toronto area, these numbers suggest that the Conservative Party is competitive in the suburbs where elections are decided. So a lot of work to do, obviously, but in a competitive position, probably as good as he could hope for, given that he didn't control the timing of the election campaign. So clearly there's a race to be had here. The Liberals are not so far ahead that the Conservatives can catch them, but at the same point, we don't see that the Conservatives have made any big gains over the last little while. What we've seen traditionally with the Conservatives and the Liberals is that the Conservatives tend to do better among older voters and the Liberal Party tends to do better among younger voters. What this shows, though, is that the Liberals are actually very competitive for older voters. And that's key because older voters tend to be the ones that show up the most habitually to vote. And in a low turnout election, which this one looks like it's going to be because people just don't seem to be watching it that much and not very interested. Being competitive among older voters is really, really important for the Liberal Party. So they're looking to be in reasonably good shape here, and particularly among that key demographic of older voters that the Conservatives can usually count on as being their strongest supporters.